Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
Hi everyone, Sue here at 1A Auto, and today I'm going to be changing a dipstick tube in an '08 Subaru with an Outback with a 2.5 single overhead cam. It's pretty common for the O-rings to pour and leak out, so when I called and was going to get the O-rings, I got the price of the whole tube, and it's like under 20 bucks for this whole thing, and it comes with the O-rings. So I don't know if I'm going to have a split in the tube, but it's well worth getting the whole thing and putting it in there. So we're going to start with taking this cover off, because we're going to take the alternator and the AC out as a whole to get just to that bracket. So we have a 10mm socket here, here, and here. So now we have to loosen the alternator bracket. That is a 12mm socket. We can pull this right out of there then. Okay, let's loosen up the alternator. Now we can loosen the adjustment on the belt. Get that belt right out of there. We're going to take the whole alternator and the AC bracket and everything right out. So you take this bolt all the way out. Now we can take this back bolt out. Gonna get a pry bar. Get this cable so it will move out of the way. Okay. So now I'm just going to pry this alternator away from the bracket. Move that over here. Just want it out of the way because you're not disconnecting the battery. Or you can if you choose to. I'm not going to. So now I'm going to loosen up the AC pulley. It's a 12mm socket. I'm just going to loosen that so it moves. And then I'm going to get and loosen up the adjustment on it. Now I can take the belt off. Set that aside. Now we're going to take these bolts out of the way. They're 14mm. And there's one over here on the bracket, mounts on the side here. And then there's one in the front. There's one in the far back, so you might need a swivel socket to get to that. And that will be the last one. Let's see if I can fish this in there. Perfect. Now I can take this AC unit right up, put it aside. Here I have exposed now the mounting for the dipstick bracket. It's a 10mm socket. Get that out of the way. Now you're gonna need a bucket because Subaru's design, the tube comes out of the oil pan and then this tube goes into it, but the level of the oil will shoot out like a fountain. So you gotta make sure you find the location, which is right on the driver's side head bank, right by the thermostat housing area. Put a bucket down there so when you pull this tube out, the oil will go into it. I'm gonna pull the dipstick stick out of the tube, and then I'm gonna pull the tube out. Just grab it firmly and pull up. I might have to rock it back and forth. It manipulates, it goes in like a twisty angle. And as you can see, I put some RTV on there trying to stop it from pouring out, literally pouring out. So I raised the vehicle with a 2-post lift, and you can see the silicone that was marked all around the oil pan. This is the part that comes out of the oil pan. So I just want to clean this up, make sure that nothing goes inside, and that way I can monitor the actual oil after this, confirm that this was the major problem that I had. Before I put the new dipstick tube down in there, I want to just get these O-rings nice and lubed up, so I'm going to dip them in some of the oil that I'll be using. I don't want the dry gaskets, I don't want them to tear. Make sure they're on there good, and then I'm just going to fish that down. It goes in front, there's a coolant tube there, and it goes in front of the coolant tube. And then spins around. Now, I personally cannot see from up here. I'm going to see if I can get my arm to go down, see if I can fish it in. If not, I might have to raise the vehicle back up so that I can obviously guide it in the spot. So now that it's in the tube in the pan, what I did was I just went down on the ground and I lined it up and I just gave it a good firm push. You'll feel it pop in. Remount this bolt. Tighten it down. Now we're just going to reverse procedure. Put the AC unit back in with the bracket. There's 4 bolts total, all the same length, so whichever order you put them in. Just remember to start them all by hand before you tighten them down. That reassures the alignment of all the bolts and the threads. On that back one, I'm going to get my extension and I'm going to hand start it to confirm it's in, because it's kind of a hard spot. There we go. Tighten them all down. Now I'm going to put the AC belt on before I put the alternator back. That way I can really see everything. I can see the alignment of the belt. Okay, so the AC belt goes down around the crank, and then it runs around the tensioner, AC tensioner, and then up on the AC compressor. I'm going to do this with an electric gun. You can do it by hand if I've done too many of them maybe. So if you're sure of yourself, then just do it by hand. I'm just going to rotate slowly anyways. And what we're looking for is the tautness of this belt, and you can't forget that you have the tightening of the nut, which will give it a little bit more taut. That's way too loose. So I'm going to finish it by hand. I'm going to check it. It's still. There we go. So I'm looking for, you don't want it to be like a guitar chord, but you want to be able to spin the longest depth. You want to be able to turn it at least a quarter to a half. I like half. Some people do this. That's really tight. Now you'll wipe out bearings if you over tighten it. So now with a 12mm socket, I'm going to tighten up that idler pulley. Now we can install the alternator. Let's see if it's twisted. There we go. So this is the AC connector. You can connect that. And this is the harness connector on this to the bracket. Clicks in, and that clicks down. So now we're going to guide this alternator down. There we go. I don't want to get too forceful with it, so that's why I'm using the back side of the handle. I like to just push and wiggle the actual housing, and it will usually line up the main bolt. I can feel where it's off. There we go. So I push the bolt through. Now, this nut is a fixed nut. See the butterflies on it? So it goes back here, line it up on that alternator bracket. So it's just the way they design it. I'm gonna get my 12mm socket. I'm just gonna start it. Try to do this. There we go. So you want those ears to line up with the tab right there. Let's push it through all the way. Might need that pry bar. The reason I'm doing that is that way it assures me that I've got my tabs lined up, and now I can put that guard, the belt guard, back in with no complications. So let's lift it up, put our tensioner, the adjuster bolt through the alternator. Okay, now the belt's going to run down around the crank. Make sure you get all the ribs lined up. Then the power steering pump. See how it's off on the bottom? So I'm going to push that back over, then line it up on my alternator. And before I tighten it, I like to run my fingers around, make sure it's all in the ribbed alignment. And now I can take the adjuster and adjust up that belt. Same thing with this belt. I want it taut and be able to turn about a quarter of a turn. Don't forget, once you tighten this up, it will give it a little bit more tightness. That's good. Now I'm going to tighten this adjuster bolt. Let's put that guide shield back on. See what happened when it moved. Okay, so now slide that in. Line up that mounting bolt. Put this one on. If I think I'm going to get in there, no, see, you can't get in there, so there's your answer on that. So let's tighten up that base alternator bolt. I want to make sure that that tab doesn't move. Here we go. Perfect. Now I can put this last shield on. So last thing, putting the shield on, you have two different mounting bolts, one with a spacer, that goes with the rubber bushing one. You line that up. And then put this the long bolt in there, and then tighten them down. And I'm probably going to have to add oil. About half a quart low, that's it. Perfect. Don't forget to clean up your area. You don't want that oil burning smell. So now I'm going to put the cap back on, and we are all set to go.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.